Ace. I'm here with Alicia, and we're happy to be joined by Hockey Shakur this morning. How you doing? Or I guess it might be afternoon where you're at.
Yeah. It's like 2:30 now. Free to land, revolutionary greetings, and I'm happy to be back on with y'all, man.
Yeah, revolutionary greetings. It's always a good time when we get a conversation with you. So you're in Virginia, yeah?
Yes, that's where I'm located. Born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. That's the capital of Virginia. Yeah, been here my whole life.
Yeah, well, we'll get into Virginia a little bit in a little bit later. Is it hot over there in the summer?
Man, yeah. It's hot right now. Like, it's been like a real hot heat wave going on in this region of the country. So yeah, it get real hot here in Virginia.
How
Yeah,
hot's hot?
Look, over the past week, everything been over 100.
Oh,
damn.
Heat index like 110, 115. You know what
oh,
I'm saying? Stuff like that. I think a lot of that got to do with the, like what they say, the global warming and stuff like that. But
mm-hmm.
we know that humans play a role in that. So I don't know. It's above than what we usually get though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too talking about that. We can uh, get to that at another time, but it's amazing how people in their own lifetimes the climate changes and people still don't like acknowledge what's happening. Because even where I grew up, it's when I go visit the family and whatever, it's super hot compared to what it was when I grew up. So
Yeah.
crazy. Well, for those of you that haven't tuned into a conversation between me and Hockey before, and uh, maybe you're not privy to political prisoners, Hockey and I got together and connected based upon the Dr. Matulu Shakur, probably like 10 years ago now. It was about
Yep.
10 years ago now. Dr. Matulu Shakur, Tupac's stepfather, um, he was in prison at the time, and he'd been in there for about 40 years, I think. And
Yep.
we were both working towards his release, which he thankfully was able to liberate himself and get out at the end. Although he's transitioned on, so we might give a moment of respect to the doctor for just a second. So we'll give him just a quick moment of silence. But much respect to the Dr. Matulu Shakur. But some one thing that we don't realize sometimes in today's world, and it's even changed in the 10 years, right, since back then, because a lot of folks have been out and a lot of folks have transitioned on, have passed on. But there's still folks that are political prisoners today. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we got like far as the Black Liberation Movement and things of that nature, we got like three specific individuals that everybody should know by now. That's haven't been liberated from prison. Individuals like Jamil Alameen, people know him as H. Rap Brown. You still got Mumia Abu Jamal, who's incarcerated, and then you got the third individual out of that Trinity, which is Kamal Siddiqui, who's still incarcerated as well, former Black Panther Party member, and also he's the father of Asada Shakur's daughter. Many people might not know that aspect of his situation as well as who he is as an individual. But there's plenty more political prisoners that people really don't, overstand or know who they are. But when we talking about that type of stuff, people tend to forget about the individuals who went to prison who was politicized behind the walls and things of that nature. So they tend to get left out a lot, you know what I'm saying, during these conversations because people are so used to the individuals that's kind of like more, known about who were freedom fighters before they went to prison and things of that nature. So they tend to like, you know, overshadow the individuals who transform themselves within the walls. So it's to add them to the list will definitely take that number to extreme numbers of individuals who are still incarcerated and captured. Individuals who are actually, they're freedom fighters and stuff like that, who come under the George Jackson history and things of that nature, who continue to take up that torch and stuff like that, who come from prison organizations, because many people don't know about the black liberation movements that established prison organizations, because you had
Mm.
organizations like the New African prison organization. You have the BGF, the Black Guerrilla Family, that many people don't, leave out the conversation, but they were a radical revolutionary black nationalist organization who has a lot of political prisoners as well. Because all those individuals, they come out of like the George Jackson legacy and stuff like that in California. So when we talking about those individuals, man, that list is long. From all across the country. In Indiana, you got an Indiana political struggle that's attached to that. Alabama, and many other places in the United States of America who are all connected through this, especially like Black August. When we're talking about Black August, that whole collective of individuals as well who actually are political prisoners as well today.
This is why I'm so grateful that you come on these podcasts and talk about it, because there's plenty of people that care but just don't know, you know.
Yes.
And so when we hear you talking, and we've heard you talking a lot about Shaka Shakur recently, and I think he got shipped from Virginia to Indiana, right?
In the reverse, from
Or reverse,
Indiana to Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about Shaka Shakur?
Yeah, Shaka Shakur, man, he's an individual, man. He's very political astute. He's another individual that was revolutionized and politicized behind the wall. He was one of those main individuals that rose up during that period of time of the Indiana prisoner struggle against the prison system back in like the 70s going into like the 80s. I would say mainly the 80s though, because you had individuals who started to go to prison during the 80s who actually transformed themselves as well and joined the Black Liberation Movement, the New African Independence Movement. So Shaka is an individual who came up under individuals out of that New African prison, New African People's Prison Organization and things of that nature during the late 70s and the 80s, and the Black Liberation Army individuals who were captured and who started organizations and movements behind the wall across the country. So he comes under that political line, under the Black Liberation Army, the New African Prisoners Organization, Spear and Shield Collective. If people don't know anything about these organizations that I'm naming, you can go to the rebuildcollective.org website, and that website has that whole rundown and history of these organizations that I'm speaking upon right now. Rebuildcollective.org. That's an organization I'm working with as well to continue the legacy of these individuals as well. But Shaka was an individual who was politicized very early. He went to prison very early. I think his first arrest was around 16 years old. By that time, he was already beginning to become politicized and things of that nature. So, in the state of Indiana, knew who he was. He was an individual that was going around the community, making change, politicizing the community, helping the youth out. Transforming these youth gang members into political individuals as well. So around that time, he started to be targeted, like many other individuals in the struggle. So during that period of time through the 90s, he got out during that period of time and started to help the community again. But when he got out this time, um, they was targeting him a little bit more, and they was very repressive with their attacks and things on him because he was in the community and he was becoming very popular. But around that time, a tragedy took place in his life. His son, his son was caught up in street politics and things of that nature, and his son was killed by another individual who was caught up in street politics. So around that time, when his son got killed, and this is the only child, by the way, like he has no other kids. Like I think his son was like 18, something like that when he was murdered and things of that nature. So this took a real heavy toll on the psychology of Shaka when he was out. So it was distracting him. The police wasn't doing too much, try to solve the case and things of that nature. So Shaka and the other political individuals of the community took it upon themselves to try to get his son's murder solved, things of that nature. But during that period of time, he got very depressed. Um, he was going through psychological issues and things of that nature because his child was gone. So, and plus he was up against like this stalking, this counterintelligence that the police of Indiana was running on him and the individuals in his community. So he, one day he kind of like snapped. And when he snapped, he was near some police officers, and he fired, but he shot in the air. He didn't shoot at the police officer. So they locked Shaka up. They tried to say he committed attempted murder on a police officer, but he didn't shoot at the police officer. He shot in the air. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was killed. No things of that nature. This was in the early 2000s. So Shaka's been incarcerated. I say probably like 20. This probably be like the 23rd, 24th year since that incident. He's been incarcerated, but altogether he's been in prison for like 36 years. If you go back to his teenager years and things of that nature. Um, so yeah, his case has been, it's been a little bit under the wraps. People haven't, really paid too much attention to his case. It's not really known, except for individuals who are in the movement and things of that nature. But Shaka should have been came home. They gave him like 60 years. And that was just trumped up charges, you know what I'm saying, based on who he was. They didn't give him at, where the time they did give him for the original charge, he's done that time. So that's why we're advocating to try to get him out. It's like they just trying to hold him hostage because of his political work behind the walls, his agitation behind the walls. They don't like him. So he's been subject to brutal beatdowns, psychological warfare, low intensity warfare running on his mind by the prison guards and by prisoners. They've used prisoners to try to kill him and things of that nature while he's been in there to try to shut his mouth. They tried to gag order him and things of that nature. So he's under extreme repression right now. So we're trying to get him back to Indiana or try to get him on a compassionate release because Shaka also has health issues. He's been battling like this cancer thing that he got going on. He got like hypertension and things of that nature. And he's just going through like a real tough time mentally. So he's going through like mental health issues at the moment as well and stuff like that. So he shouldn't be in Virginia. That's the thing I want people to understand. The only reason he's in Virginia because they had this slaverish contract between states called the Interstate Compact Contract. And if people don't know what that is, you can research that on Google. It's called the Interstate Compact Contract, where it's kind of like what they used to do in slavery, how they used to, trade enslaved individuals back and forth from the upper South to the deeper South and things of that nature illegally. Because this whole Interstate Compact Contract is illegal. Like they don't have the right to move you to a place where you don't have family, support systems, and things of that nature in place because his case didn't take place in Virginia. It took place in Indiana. So he has no business being here. So we're just trying to raise, awareness around all those issues to try to get this brother back home to his family.
So is that the main goal, is to get him out?
Yeah, the main goal is to get him out. But we're getting a lot of pushback when it comes to trying to actually getting him fully released. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get him out on that compassionate release. But the most important thing that we can do in this moment is at least get him back to Indiana so he can be with his wife, because he has a wife, family, and things of that nature that's back in Indiana who really doesn't have the lifestyle to be traveling back and forth, between Indiana and Virginia and things of that nature. So the main goal right now is to get him out, but the most important thing we could do for him right now is to get him home. So he can fight, so he can fight the case better because the case is in Indiana. It's not in Virginia. You see what I'm saying? He hasn't been charged for anything pertaining to Virginia. His case is Indiana. So he, that right there is illegal. Because why y'all got him in another state when his case is in y'all state? You see what I'm saying? So if people read behind the lines in that, then they'll see the problem.
Yeah. How do you think people that are listening in or watch this later on, how you think that they could contribute or help in any way? Just becoming aware or?
Yeah, he has an official website. It's shakashakur.org. I'm gonna say that one more time for the people. shakashakur.org. And this website was established by individuals back in Indiana at the Indianapolis Liberation Center. So that's kind of like his other biggest support system that's back in Indiana is this new community liberation center that's been set up in his name as well back in Indiana. So if you go to that website, right, there's on the website, it's a section on there called Take Action. And so when you go to the website, you hit that button, Take Action. And once you go to Take Action, it's just a whole list of things that you can do as an individual, a community, a movement to support his compassionate release or to get him back to Indiana. He has a petition on there that we're trying to bring awareness to. He has a digitalized letter writing thing that's set up on there as well, where you can just write the letter right there. You ain't got to mail it in. You could just write to, it's already formatted to where you just sign your signature, and the letter and things of that nature will go to the governor, will go to the prosecution office, and all these things automatically. You just hit the button, and then they got where where the donations are set up, where you can donate to his legal fees, his lawyers, and things of that nature, so we can get better, legal team in place as well, because we done had several setbacks when it comes to his legal team and things of that nature, where individuals just exploiting him because of who he was and things of that nature, but not really getting no progress in his case and things of that nature. So right now we're trying to reestablish his legal team. So just in case he do get shipped back to Indiana, you know what I'm saying? We can have a legal team already set up here in Virginia right now, ready to go, so he can fight his case when he get back. But go to that website, shakashakur.org, hit the Take Action button, and get involved with the Shaka Shakur Freedom Campaign.
Mhm. Like on top of the psychological warfare that happens inside, I just don't know if we truly empathize with if someone is removed from their community and then taken away to a different state and the family can't even visit. I mean, the psychology of that too is huge. I just don't. Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that to the forefront because I think that's a huge part. If we can't get him out, bringing him back to his family to
Right.
support him through this in
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because this the thing with prisoners that people don't get is that psychological effect. Your mental health, your holistic health that you can't get behind the walls and things of that nature, because they're intentionally trying to break you, mentally and things of that nature, especially if they don't like you, if you're a politicized person, or if they deem you as a threat, or if they see you as a person that's an agitator, or you're a person that's just too political for the other prisoners. They don't want you around the other prisoners, so they're going to use all type of brutal, repressive tactics against you to try to break you mentally. And like you just said, and people got to look at it through this reality, is that's kidnapping. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it on a larger scale, like if you're thinking about it on a common sense level, what they did to Shaka and what they're doing to other prisoners, that's kidnapping, because you're not getting their consent to be transferred across state lines and things of that nature, the due process. So Shaka's case is a prime example of how prisoners don't get that due process as human beings. So it's basically treating you like you're not a human being. You're not getting the right, due process on these matters. You know what I'm saying? If people come to you and be like, do you want to get shipped or do you want to stay here and things? No, they skip that whole process and just swap you out and ship you out based on this interstate compact contract, which is nothing but a 21st century slave contract, like they did our ancestors with the Fugitive Slave Act back in the days and things of nature. So you see how the system is still the same, modernized. That's it.
Mm,
That's a good way to put it. It's still the same, but it's modernized. And I think it all ties into what we've been trying to talk about with revolutionary social work. We've been
Yeah,
trying, one of our biggest goals is reconnection. We feel like that's why people get addicted. That's why people get into violence. That's what all kinds of things, right? A lot of the things that ail us
right.
as individuals, as a society. And you look at like what would, if we really wanted to rehabilitate, if we want to use that word, rehabilitate or help somebody become what we need them to be to be in society, or whatever we're saying it, you would want them to be reconnected, right? You'd want them to be healthy. You'd want them to be
Yes,
connected with their family. You'd want them, and in order to do that, they'd need sunlight and maybe some connection with nature and stuff like that.
right.
And when you look at prison or jail, it's the exact opposite of that. Even I've only had little stints in there,
Right.
and they treat you, like you said, not a human being. And mine was only a little stint, so I mean,
Yeah.
not even on the level. But you need something, you ask for something, they treat you like you're absolutely, like you're no less than a voice. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And so if you think about like our goals as in the jails, the prison system, it's the exact opposite of what it ought to be if you know if
Yes.
we're truly trying to help folks or trying to do some kind of rehabilitation and whatnot. And I think the other side of it too is it's important that I think a lot of folks don't realize is the tactics that many of the things that you've already talked about, like the levels that they still go to repress somebody that is speaking up politically or organizing
Right.
politically behind bars, or and even if you're not, the things that the levels that they still go to disrupt communication
Yeah.
and
To
all of that
disrupt the
stuff.
communication. I'm glad you brought it up because that's another element too that people gotta do their research on when it comes